So hello everybody, this is Colette from the Sacred Rose Temple. I'm very pleased to have the lovely Zina with us today. And the reason I've asked Zina to be on this video with us is because Zina's been going through quite an intense transformation at the moment. And Zina has a lot of experience in healing modality and working with people in therapeutic terms as well, which I'm sure she'll explain in a moment. So we thought it was really important to just share the type of healing that some of us are going through and doing at the moment as part of what we feel is collective responsibility to come into deep change and to heal. So Zina I met last year in France, and we together embarked on a beautiful pilgrimage down in the south of France to Sacred Land on a Mary Magdalene pilgrimage, and we hit it off straight away. We felt a common connection through the Black Mother, and as you all know, I have a deep connection to the Black Madonna, and I felt that Black Rose energy from Zina's heart, and yeah, we just had just a moment of connection, and we kind of knew from the minute we met that that would be a lasting relationship, didn't we, Zina?
Absolutely. Sister from another mister, huh?
Exactly. So Zina has a lot of experience, like I say, in both being a teacher and a student, the same as myself. And so I really wanted to get her voice on camera. For me, Zina is an example of the healing feminine, and the type of feminine that is beginning to walk this planet with a sacred mission. So it's a bit of a big planet to live up to, isn't it?
I don't know to cry.
So I'm going to ask Zina some questions just to kind of get you all to understand what that work involves that we're talking about. So Zina, just give us a little bit of a background, where you're from, what you do, and any information that you might think relevant.
Okay. My name is Zina. I am a transformational coach for women. I'm living in New Jersey right now. It's about 30 minutes outside of New York City. So we're in the epicenter of things right now, but everything's fine. The light is shining, right? So I've been working for the last 6 years as a transformational coach for women, specifically working with women that use their minds, go from their minds with overthinking, overwhelm, analyzing, really managing their life through their thoughts first, and who have found that there is a block or there's possibly another way to manage their lives. Mm-hmm. And so I work with them to drop into the heart and start expanding upon the heart and going into their more feminine qualities, the intuition and their feelings, the space of love and compassion. And that's where I'm kind of guiding women towards going for their healing. That's the work I've been doing. And over the course of, I'd say, the last easily 30 years, I've been working on myself, whether it's through traditional therapy, psychotherapy. I've done Reiki trainings. I've done all different kinds of modalities, breath work, meditation, all kinds of different modalities. It's hard to kind of have them at the top of my head, but all in an effort to really just keep expanding, keep healing, keep just ripping the layers off. But I have to say that where I was kind of lacking was any of the somatic stuff, how emotion stays in their body, how density kind of lands there and lives there, and then we act from those places. So that's the work that I've been really being drawn to lately, and it's really where the transformation is just blossoming. Things are just falling away. Yeah.
So yeah, there's a big long list of healing modalities. Like myself, it's hard to really reel them off and remember them, isn't it? When
it is
so much, because it just becomes an accumulation, and the journey of healing. So yeah, the somatic piece for you was particularly important for the next piece that you felt that you needed to embody, right? Yeah.
Yeah. It feels like it brings all of those pieces, all of those spiritual kind of out there kind of pieces. It's bringing it back to this life. It's bringing it back to me and my own healing and my full embodiment, full being here on the planet. I didn't really see that as a distinction before. I just thought, oh, I'll be this spiritual kind of like out there looking at different things, bringing it in and bringing it back to people. But I really understand the importance of the embodiment piece. The body piece is just so present for me right now.
Yeah, and for those that don't know what somatic means, it means a body connection. And in a spiritual path, the somatic connection tends to not really be considered part of it unless you start off with somatic, as I did. I started in the yoga world, so I became connected to my body, and through the body connected to spirituality and healing. So yeah, I see it like a star. There's like a star healing map, and we hit these modalities like somatic, physical healing, prayer, the highest chakra kind of work, the Reiki, the energy work. So we kind of in our life will visit each of those ones in whatever order our unique blueprint is designed to hit them in on. So for me, the yoga was deeply where I spent a lot of years, and then I moved into the higher realms and the higher spirituality, the higher energies. And for me, being a somatic practitioner, it's really important for me, and it has been for my clients, to see that all the work we've done be brought back down into the body and to be used in our 3D life, actually in our living normal life, so that spirituality and your normal everyday being aren't different. We don't take off our spiritual suit when we get back from yoga and just go, okay, I'm just a normal person now. But we embody the spirituality, so it's who we are every day.
Yeah, it's like really living the work that you've been doing all this time, and it's the full mirror of what needs to be for wholeness.
Yes,
it's quite important.
Exactly, yeah. And for me, that has been a big piece. I find that lots of people are missing, is that they've done a ton of work, and then they're just like, things just don't seem to be moving. But I've done all this work, and it literally is that last jigsaw piece that goes in, and everything just goes bang. And I think
100%. It's so evident now that now that I've seen it, and now that I've seen the difference, how it processes through my body, you can kind of see it as almost a telltale sign in other people. The fragments, the pieces that have not come back yet. Here we are. We're here to live this, right?
Yeah. Yeah, no, totally agree. So what you started with me, gosh, how many weeks ago? 4 weeks ago now, the Feminine Rose Alchemy course. What drew you to do that? What made you come to do that course with all the experience and all the work that you've already done?
Initially, it was the somatic piece. We had a really amazing experience. I had a really amazing experience with you in France. I'm doing yoga every day and having this really big emotional releases for me. I had no idea what was stored in me, and it was the opening for me to understand there's a whole other grounded path that I really needed to walk on. And just to be brief for right now, but I had come off of a very long trip. I was traveling for 7 months, and what I was faced with was the duality of life, right? The positive and the negative, the ups and downs. And I was living in this world where it was all about the good. And most of, my thought was everybody's good. They're just misaligned. This is like the healing work that they have to do. But what I got to see on that trip was how it manifested, how that misalignment manifested as duality on earth, like how it was coming to me, experience after experience. And so I started to look at, whoa, there's like a real dark side to this, a real shadow side is really the better terminology for it. And so as I started to really kind of pick at that, I realized that it's inside of me too, right? So all that shadow work that I was seeing, all the shadows that I was seeing outside is the introduced me to this path to myself of the shadow work or the shadow that's in all of us.
Yes.
And so I needed to look at myself, always looking inward, right? But look at those aspects that I had never really wanted to look at or knew to look at. I don't even know how to verbalize that. But it became really clear that that's what I needed to do next. And within maybe a week or so, here you come with Rose Alchemy. Okay, I have to take this.
Yeah. And
I
for
just had
those,
to.
Those that have done work with me before know that the shadow work that I do within my courses is very, very organic and normal for me. It's just one of my, I'm not going to say gifts, I don't like that work. It's just one of the things that comes very natural for me to see, where people are being deceiving of themselves and where they're missing parts. And for some reason it's not the nicest job, as you know. Sometimes I have to say things and poke things that are going to hurt people or make them feel defensive, but it's so natural for me to be able to see that. And when we spoke, when we met, it was very obvious that you were at that point and you were resonating with what the shadows that we were seeing around us were pointing at us about, and that it was taking us through the black connection, the black mother connection that we had together. And for me, shadow work, although I love it in the psychology sense of Jung's work and shadow facilitation, the deepest teachings that I've had has been through the Black Madonna, delivered to me. Take that. This is your shadow. These are the parts of you that need to be changed. And that's been a lifelong mission for me. I've been hell-bent on trying to change the shadow pieces in me, the egoic pieces in me also. And it's really, really changed my life. It's come through in the 3D. And it's allowed me to, I would say, pursue what I wanted to pursue out of life in a harmonious way.
Yeah, and it feels like in a freer way, because I'm only getting the pieces of it right now. Yeah. But what it feels like to me is it's just freed me up. There was so many things that I just didn't realize how I was behaving, and where it was coming from was not the me that had done all that work, that was this spiritual person that was ready to explode onto the world and help people and be in service. But it was just all of these places where I was seeing, and I am seeing, the slight I don't want to even say misaligned, but it's like the slight shift of perspective takes me to this place of freedom. It just like releases me from this old way of seeing myself and then acting in the world. Yeah. I don't even know how else to say it because it's so powerful.
Yeah. So the shadow in terms of Jung would say that the shadow is all of the parts of us that have been held in the subconscious, that we're not aware play out in us. So your experience, all of that in the course, because that's fundamental to the course. But all of that has been repressed, all of that's been hidden from the self. And it's virtually impossible to see it unless it's called out through a different lens. And then once someone can see that through that lens, they can say, hey, how about that? This is the way it's been. And you get the bigger realization of the patterns.
I have to say that's a really important piece because most of the work that I've been doing and have been doing has been on my own. Or finding a teacher here, or taking a class here, or doing a retreat, and really getting the expansion and moving to the next place. But it was always this kind of hunt and peck kind of approach to spirituality, where I would get what I needed and really kind of integrated or processed it myself. Yeah. And what I find was exactly what you said, is I needed that outside jab, the outside perspective, the outside view of me without it being absorbed or having to integrate or me having to process. It's just a quick like, hey, this is what I see in you. Should we check it out? Maybe you need to look at that. And it kind of like shifted how much work I actually had to go in and figure out myself It's like a cleaner process. I don't know how else to say it.
Yeah.
It's less cumbersome and more like, hey, let's check this out. This is what I'm hearing in you.
Yes.
And it offers me a way to look at it that's quick, that I'm not going to say it's easy because it's been intense, but it's quick. It's me not navigating my own thoughts around, oh, maybe it's this or self-doubt or any of those things. It's someone else that I trust saying, hey, this is what I see. How about taking a look at it? It's powerful. I've never wanted to have someone else look at me. Never.
Yeah.
You know, but I found in you that the trust, the connection, the love, the compassion, and all of those things allow me to relax into this process and say, what do you have to say to me? Person that I trust and love and respect your opinion. You know, and that's not just like calling it out that it's you, but saying, this is the container that's created.
Yeah.
And it's also the women that are in it. They're my partners in healing, as am I with them. So if they point something out in me, I understand that it's for my best good. And I understand that it's coming from a place of love and wanting to see me do better or wanting to have me shift a perspective about myself.
Yeah. So I just want to talk about that because the group that's currently going at the moment, I wanted to make a very, very clear call out that this was a group for women who were like thirsty to heal, who were willing to go in deep and hard, devotional, everyday practicing, who were prepared to have things pointed out that they might not like pointed out. And I made it very clear there was an application process to come into the group. You know, there was many women I turned away. I will only work with small groups because I find it so much intimate, so much more intimate and so much more productive. And so, yeah, I did turn away many women for this course because they wouldn't have been right for the container. And that's because they're not good enough. Or it wasn't anything to do with that. This is a certain container that calls for a certain amount of dedication. So you are in a group with a whole group of women who have the same agenda as you, is that they have come in a 7-week period to do some rapid, intense healing that will have an instant impact on their life. It's not one course that you're going to do and then in a month's time go, well, that was nice, but what changed? What happened?
No. It's really impactful. And I feel the shift. I feel like a different person. And this is after 30 years of doing work on myself. I feel like a different person. I feel like I'm actually in my body, fully accepting all of those pieces of myself that are here now for me to see as valuable. Where before I was seeing it from a place of a wound or seeing it from a place of like, acting as though it's protecting me from outside whatever, but this is almost accepting that all of this is me, seeing how I've shifted it and how I know that I don't have to act that from that place. There's another place to act from. And so that's what the healing has done for me. That's like life. It's like for the rest of my life, I have that.
Yeah. And in therapeutic terms, we never ever, this is what I've got in the course and I've tried to infuse in the course, is we don't ever just magic wand it or say, I can give you this and it'll get rid of it. That's not how healing works. You know that through your journey. This is about try this tool and the person doing it to themselves. I'm just like standing back, giving you the information, listening to you unwind and then say, well, have you thought about this? Have you thought about that? Just to poke you in deeper. And you're doing the work. It's you that's doing the work. And yeah, the thing he said about, you know, the deep integration that's going on is because it is an excavation, isn't it? You're having to dig really deep, and you know that I'm not going to, you know, I don't want to be disrespectful to some healing modalities, but I'm going to sing this song, or I'm going to do this, and then that anxiety will go away, or that trauma will, what's the word they use, transmutate. That's not the nature of trauma and anxiety. We know that it runs much deeper and it takes much deeper healing. And it takes it to the person to go in themselves and extract it out emotionally. and then embody the healing.
This feels like healing, number one, but it also feels like self-responsibility. As far as you're willing to go in and look at whatever that is as far as what you'll get out of it. And the tools are there, the prompts are there. That's what the container is about in this class, in this course. It's for us to kind of keep going back to those tools, even at week 3 or 4, right? You can go back to first week's breathing technique, or first week's go look at the mirror, or third week's, write about your mother. All of those things are constant tools now. There's so many layers to this.
Yeah.
And it's all in how dedicated you are to healing, to actually healing and going into yourself, being self-responsible, taking your own wounds and putting the salve on through these techniques.
Yeah, and I'm glad you said that, because for me, when I'm writing a course, I always try to, I've gone through the same as you, years and years of healing modalities, spending thousands of pounds on doing the inner work, and then not having anything to go back to. It kind of disappears. So I make sure that when I write a course, I am giving that person a toolbox, that what we do is we open it and we go into it and you get the feel of it and we work through it. And then for the rest of your life, that 7-week course, obviously you've got it all in PDF. So that course is yours forever. So as the wounds open up into more layers, as wounds do, you know what to do because you've got all the tools.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's a nice variety of them, because some days you don't need the same tools. Some days, oh my God, I need to move my body. Let me go do some rose yoga. Oh my God, some days I just need to, look at myself, look at my story. Let me write.
Yes.
So there's, what I would say is the tools are a really good variety to be able to, once you are aware of your own process and the way you need things or what you need, you have an assortment to go back to really kind of move whatever needs to be moved.
Yeah.
Well done.
Yeah.
Really well done.
I'm glad that was key for me in writing all the courses, that they're in your toolbox for the rest of your days, and you can go back to them. I hope you do go back to them. So I just want to go over the course itself. So we're in the end of week 3. So we're in week 4 now. And the first weeks we did the feminine pain body the first week. We did image of the self and the persona. We've done father and mother imprints. We're about to walk into, you've had your first day today of your inner child. Then we're going to look at relationship with the masculine, feminine shadow, and then the sexual self. So that's what's to come.
Also.
So the format of the course, and this is where I learned from you, is how have you found it being, they're intense themes to be covered in 1 week. And how have you found it?
Intense it's a word to describe it. It's super intense, goes super deep, but in a weird way, it feels like I'm doing something, like I'm finally doing something. So as much resistance that I have on many of those days, I'm not going to lie, it's like, I know that I've seen results. I know that this works. So the more resistance I have, the more I know I need to do it.
Yes.
So it's this kind of, it's a reciprocity that's happening. And if you're really in it, committed to yourself, you'll look at that. You'll look at the practice every day and say, oh my God, I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. And there's been days when I've combined 2 days because I just resisted so badly. But I knew that the resistance was showing me exactly that I needed to do it.
Yeah.
So as hard as it is, as intense as it is, it's working. It works. So that's what makes you want to keep doing it, right? It's like any good diet, any good recipe, any good whatever you want to say that works. When something works, you just want to keep doing it
Yeah.
because you know it's doing something for you.
And for me, resistance is really important. Obviously, being a somatic teacher, I know in the physical body that in a yoga asana, once you start to get to resistance, not pain, not that horrendous pain, but the discomfort that there's something being stretched here, or there's something being stretched inside of me that I don't want to stretch to, I don't want to see. We know we've met our teacher. So for me, resistance is the teacher. When my courses are written, I am writing to find the resistance, and I want to get to a resistance point with everyone, because I know that then becomes your inner teacher. Your resistance is your teacher. It will take you to the place where the healing is. And not many people realize that. So some of the courses, the other courses that I run, can get really difficult for people because they're not used to resistance. And any deep healing modality like this, the mystics and the sacred Gnostics will tell you that the resistance is a sign that the work's happening in the body. And in a modern day society, people do not want to hit resistance. The enlightened say, chop wood, carry water, but we don't want to chop wood and we don't want to carry water. It's too hard work. So
we'd rather watch it on a movie, right?
And have you been led into that resistance? Is this, like, give me an experience overview of that resistance and with your own personal self, because I know that I ran away from it for years.
You mean how it's shown up in my life before or within the course?
Either. You can compare the two, or you can talk about what the deeper gnosis now you have about resistance.
Well, I have to say that in my life, the resistance would show up, and the minute it got uncomfortable, I would run.
Yeah.
Whether it was in a relationship, whether it was a job, whether it was with my family, whether it was with myself even, I would run. And that could look like literally leaving. It could look like checking out and doing a movie, which I love to do. Even now, or eating, or any of those things was at that moment. And for instance, inside the course, it's been maybe an exercise would be for the day. It would show up. I'd go, all right, well, I'll do the yoga, but I'm not going to do that part. Or I'll do that. I'll do the breathing part, and it's like I negotiate with myself.
Yes.
But what happens is the more I do that, the more I do the pieces of it. And then by after a while, I'm like, oh, I just did the practice because I broke it down into pieces. I broke it down into pieces where I was less resistant. And I said, okay, I can handle that.
Yeah.
It's like a negotiation that went on inside of myself. And before I knew it, 11 o'clock at night, I'm like, oh, I did do it. That piece where I sat in yoga and cried for 20 minutes was it. Or that story I just wrote down about the first exercise with my inner child. Oh, that was it. Maybe there was no tears today. Maybe it wasn't so high drama and I didn't get that I was doing it, right? So once the resistance fell away, I realized, oh, this is not as big as I thought it was going to be. I just kept doing it. I just kept going back and doing it.
Yeah. And we've had a big week of resistance, like we're halfway through the course, and I'm always waiting for that, like, where is the barrier? And the barrier's been this week. We've been into some heavy duty healing to do with mother and father imprints, and I knew this is where it's going to get tough for people. And it's been so beautiful to witness. There's no one been dodging and hiding. They've come on and go, I am stamping my feet like a little child. I do not want to do this. This is so irritating. And even that is part of the process, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Because the minute you get to, we don't really voice or show ourselves that way, right? Like we can look in the mirror, we can stomp around our own room and kind of say, I'm not doing this. I don't care who she is. I don't care who's in the group. I'm not. No. It's not about anybody else. I got to go back and say, okay, let me express this. Because I can't just express it to myself because it's not going anywhere. It's not moving.
Yes.
Right? So when I get to at least put it in the group, everybody else sees it. and I get to express it. Something actually moved out of me. It's not just saying it, it's writing it and sharing it. It's shifting it. Something happens.
Yeah, and for me in group situations, and why I love to run groups and give daily feedback, is because I see the biggest movements in people when that's the case. You know, I can give all the work to people and say, yeah, do it on your own. But I know that even just like you described, putting your paddy fit down, I don't want to do this today. There's something in you that's witnessed by other people, and that's sometimes just what needs to be seen. That part of you that's saying no. And for another woman to come on and say, I felt like that today, or I see you, I feel you, I know, but do it anyway, or the encouragement. It's so part of what we don't get enough of in society. We go through all this challenge and all these pains, and we're not witnessed, or we're not heard or listened to. So
and I think it's something, I'm sorry, I think it was something really important to add to that, is to be witnessed by other women in this really beautiful container of love, where there's no agenda, no judgment, no, I mean, it's beautiful, because you don't get to do that often, even with women that you're close with. Maybe you could do it one-on-one, but there's something that happens when there's 8 other women witnessing you, holding you in that loving space. And that's part of the transformation as well, because there's this wall that comes down around trust and around your perception of other women, and how that then can be navigated into your life, right? It's beautiful, it's powerful.
And for me, it's really from being in forums. I've been in forums for many years, and I've held forums for many years. And for me, it's like a microcosm of what I'd like to see in the world. I'd like us to be genuinely like that in real life. Wouldn't it be great? And saying, I can't talk this time, I'm a busy bit. And I'm in my shadow today, so I'm going to rip your head off no matter what you say. And everyone's going, yeah, we know. You know, no, like you need
and it's okay. You'll move it.
Yeah. It's been really, really a deep, humbling experience for me, because this group has just ran with itself, basically. It really has just ran with itself. Even the resistance. When resistance comes in, I brace myself to be pushing, poking, prodding, you know, putting them through the barriers, but I've not had to. There's been so much knowledge of that resistance, and like you said before, the brain starts to negotiate with the self, so the ego negotiates with the self, and that's what you have all been aware of, that there's this mental movement going on that's against what the self really wants. So you've been able to overcome your own resistances, and I must admit, like you said before to me, I've just said tonight, I just need to put a movie on. Like, I need to just come out of this. And that's really part of negating healing as well.
Mm-hmm. It's also it's so much self-awareness around what you need, especially when you're doing this kind of work. It takes you to places where you're really vulnerable, where you're really feeling exposed. And that all sounds like a negative. It's not. It's important. It's healing. It's how many chances do we get to go in that deeply? But part of the point I was saying is, when you're feeling like that, sometimes you just want comfort. Sometimes you just want a human hug. Sometimes you just want, to sit and watch a movie. Yeah. And to have a blanket around you and cuddle your cat. It's that simple sometimes, to go back and put the salve back on, where you've done the work. It's a little bit raw. Now, what's the healing lotion, potion, whatever you want to call it, to use to heal you, to help heal yourself?
Yeah, lovely. So I call it healing balm.
Yeah, there you go. I couldn't think of the word.
So yeah, it is. That's exactly, you've nailed it, hit it on the head. What I wanted to ask you next is, this might be a difficult one for you. What has been the most potent healing so far?
Oh gosh. and I don't want to sound like it's a pat answer at all, but it feels like every week is it's like the layers are coming off, right? But every week where the perception shifts, where I get to see more of myself from a healthy place, is layered on top of the previous one. It's like each week is on top of the perceptions that I got about myself. They're healthy from the previous week. And so it's allowing me to have this really natural feeling of my wholeness, of my strength that doesn't come from a wound, that comes from this magnificent being called Zina. And I'm gonna start crying because I'm not the kind of person that will say that about myself. I'm sorry. It just feels really good to finally be at this place where I feel so solid and I feel so here and I feel so able. Yeah. Oh, I gotta take a breath. It's been really potent.
Yeah.
Really. And I know that I was really ripe. I know that I was really ready.
Yes.
But I didn't, and I just jumped. I didn't know really what it meant. I didn't know how I would benefit, but I just jumped. I jumped because I felt like not only my readiness, but I felt that it was a receptive pool. Like all the things were there. The teacher, the other women, the container, the place where I could actually just breathe.
Yeah, I feel you.
Yeah.
So that's like, that's pretty potent.
But yeah, it's pretty potent.
So when building on that, then that massive kind of solidness that you've found yourself, and that's the kind of thing that healing should do. I've been in healing courses that have been powerful, but have torn me to shreds and made me come out and feel like a really bad person, or feel depleted, or feel so painful that I never really got myself back together after it. I just came out like a cloud. And so when I write the courses, as painful as they have to take you, that part of feeling complete after it is really important. The nurturing, the loving, and that is what a group of women can do together. A group of women together it can either be catastrophically unsupportive, bitchy, and condemning, or they can be completely real, raw, authentic, open, supportive. And that is the nature of this feminine healing for me. If you take a woman into a feminine wounds, into the wounds that she shares commonly with all women, because now you've seen that whatever's come up in the course, every single woman has a story. It's completely different, but it's the same.
Yeah, and the resonance. It's about the resonance too. The resonance of each woman. They think that it's their story, and there's like this is mine. It's individuated, right? But the minute you share it, it becomes collective. It becomes, oh no, I see that piece of me in her. And that's where you feel the support from the others, and that you can then support them because you're coming from a common place.
And we've not had any no's. We've had no one in the group saying, no, that's not right. That's every woman's gone, I'll look into that. I'll feel into that. Or am I being like that? Every woman has been really super open. That's what has blown my socks off, is that there's been so little. I have groups that I have full on, like, push and pull fights with. Yes, this is why this keeps happening to you. And the ego will not let go. And this group of women is just like, well, if you're saying that, I'm just going to run with it and see. Yeah. I'm just going to run, because you take it or you leave it. It doesn't impact me as the guide there. But every woman's just gone, yeah, I'll inquire into that. I'm going to go into that. And that's why such profound shifts have happened.
I think it's also like the examples for each other that we have. right? So if one person shares and is really vulnerable about something, the other person that comes next feels the safety of that. They feel that I see the connection in her story. I see what she's saying is something that I also need to share. And then that one person or two people being vulnerable allows the space for the others to come in. And once that keeps happening, it just opens it up for everyone to share from a very, very honest place.
Yeah, yeah. Honesty, that's been big for me in this group. There's a lot of just radical honesty.
Yeah, for
So
sure.
what's the biggest, so you talked about the healing and this part of you that's anchored in. So what's the biggest thing would you say has been revealed about you, apart from that, oh my God, I am magnificent?
From the positive side, I have come to understand my own value and my own place. I don't know how else to say that. And on the same side of that coin, walking into it, I did not realize how much I was still with the unworthiness, still with the not seeing myself as valuable. There was this big gap that I still had where I saw the work that I was doing, but I didn't understand. I didn't make the connection that it was actually me and the value that I brought, not only by doing the work, but by showing up and showing up and showing up, right? And so it feels to me like that's come together.
Yes.
I don't know how else to say it, but it feels like it's come together. There's no gap.
No. Yeah. So it's just this, it's slotted right back in. Yeah.
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 So after the course, we've still got a couple of weeks and lots of things can change because we're coming into some big healings with the masculine and looking at our shadow. But how do you, because obviously when you're in an intense course like this, there's lots of things dropping in and you've probably got a huge to-do list, but you can't really do anything at the moment because you're in this space and it's ongoing. So after the course, what do you feel now at this point? Because it will change, that it's going to, how it's going to impact your life. What do you see already when you step out yourself doing?
I see it in my daily life, how I communicate with others and how I allow myself to be who I am without all of the places of my mind stepping in going, oh, but it's this, and what if they, and this, like all these outside things. I'm not saying, and I'm not going to say that it's no longer there. I'm going to say that it comes from a different place now. It's like I'm operating from here.
Yes.
And so I see how that's going to be in my everyday life. And I see for my practice, for my business, for the way I work with women, and I even see men for me, the way that I work with people will be transformed. It will be much deeper. I mean, I would personally love to be able to do this work with other people, create containers, work around stories. I just got a message just the other day from my ancient wisdom of my ancestors, right? On my father's side was there's wisdom in story, right? And I'm seeing it unfold in the group.
Yes.
How we share with each other, and the creating that container so people can share that way. And it's almost like this whole vulnerability piece, this place of intimacy. I want everyone to have that. I want everybody to have access to that space for themselves, because it shifts everything.
Yes.
Everything.
I know, Zina, that that when you're close to your soul, that your creative energy, like it bursts out of the body. The soul is divinely creative, isn't it? And this is where I create courses from. Like this is the space where my courses come from. This is my creation. And I love doing the artwork for the courses. I love putting the framework together. And this has gone from tools as being a school curriculum, teacher. And so, yeah, I see all parts of my past have come forward into the creativity. And I see that especially for you, because you're a visual person.
Mm.
And your visual art is very strong, and we've seen that in the group with you. We've seen other girls coming out with like expressive arts today, a girl coming out with like a voice in the group, so this creative nature. So explain that, because you were touching on it when you were speaking then. How's your creative nature inflamed? Like, you want to create groups, what else? What wants to create?
There is this whole visual piece to me, right? I'm a trained artist and painter, and so this other piece that's coming out is being able to create symbols or sigils that are representative of people's energy or where they are in their life, or images that are coming out for people's purpose. It's like this whole thing is coming back together, right? It's like, I know that I've been an artist my whole life. I know that I've been a clairvoyant and a seer my whole life.
Yes.
And all of those things are just coming back in like puzzle pieces.
Yes.
Where I kept them separate. Like, I'm an artist. Oh yeah, I'm a little psychic. So you don't need to tell me everything. Or I'm a bit of a writer. But all of these things, all of these pieces are now solid. They're their own things.
Yes.
And I'm using them all together as creation. It's like just coming out of me. There's pieces that I'm writing, there's poetry that's coming out, there's drawings and paintings that I'm doing, there's just things just coming out. It's like we have tapped into the creation energy. It feels like the more we tap into our true woman whole self, lead with that, right? The creation stuff just comes out. It just comes out.
Completely. And you're being a little bit humble there, because Zina shared with me one of her paintings, and I've had the experience of working in Peru with visionary artists. I'm not an artist, but I was with them while they were painting scenes from people's ayahuasca journeys, and Zina's painting was exactly that. It was a visionary journey of one of the healings that we've been through in the group. So she was able to capture the feminine healing that has happened within the body as a visionary art. And any of you that have dabbled with visionary art or have seen visionary art, you know that that in itself has a transmission to the body. Not many people know this about art and symbology, is that actually just by looking at that type of art creates a message to your whole body through your vision. So she's being a little bit humble there, but the visionary artist in her, and that has pulled on your art, it's pulled on your clairvoyancy. Like you say, it was all them skills coming forward and it manifested. And that for me is the true sign of healing. When I see the creative flow coming out of people, it's a sure sign that true healing is beginning to happen, because the unhealed parts of ourselves, we all know when we've been in really bad situations or places in our lives, we don't have an ounce of creativity. We've got no creative energy whatsoever. We just want to curl up in a ball and hide. For me, it was overdoing. I would over-exercise as a way to compensate from trying to use my creative energy. And I agree with you completely. As the feminine, we are creators. That's what we are by nature. So when we touch feminine essence and we start to come into feminine healing, we should see people start to come into creation. And I poke for that. You will see. I will keep saying, so what's coming out of this? So I have a little formula, don't I, Zina, that's like a realization. You realize it, you accept it, you own it, you then emote it, and then you come into action. Yeah. So I know when I looked at that grid, I used to realize things a lot, and I used to just realize them. I didn't know there was something I had to do with it when I had a realization. And this is what keeps people, and this is what I want to share on this video, is this is what keeps people out of in loops, keeps them in loops, because they realize it and they know it and it stays up here. Yeah. But there's something else in owning it, accepting it, and then taking it right down here and here into the emotional level of the body, and then feeling the emotion that comes from that and the healing that comes from when we emote, to then, after a good emoting session, so, you know, I've had a good shout and rage before. The boys were laughing at me because I've been so busy. I just can't seem to fit anything in at the minute. And then I went into the bedroom and the boys are scraping the wallpaper off. And I went in and I went blah, 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 blah. And they were laughing because they know I've just come in to release anger and I needed witnessing. And they know about my inner child. They know about my inner child. And so Casper said, Mum's been an angry inner child. And I went, I'm really angry. And they laughed because they can hold that space now. They know what it's about. And then as soon as I came out of that, I just had this, like, I was ready to come and do this interview with you, but I was at a spark of inspiration. And I was like, oh, I've got to write that down before I go in. Because as soon as that emotion leaves me now, it fuels, especially anger, fuels this fire in me. And if I've had a good cry, then I always get this space that opens up. Mm-hmm. And I have this space, and then I always feel something's coming, something's coming, something's coming, because I've now programmed myself for the action. What's going to come out of this? So out of that little realization chart that I've given in the group, what was the one that you probably weren't instilling in your life before?
There's a couple.
Yeah.
Because I feel like what I was doing before was kind of getting the information. I would bring it out, connect with the universe, bring it back in. But it was like this from here, up, out, and back down, and up, out. And this process that you take us through takes it through the whole body. It takes us through the whole body. All of the senses are engaged. The outside comes in, and we are pushing it out into something. And so what I was missing is the emoting, for sure, the emoting, going into the feeling and the emotion that comes up. I would stop the minute anything would come up and be like, why am I feeling that? That's not spiritual. Why is that coming up? Like, it was all this disconnect around something being spiritual or something expanding me or something moving me forward. It didn't feel like that was what would move me forward. No. It felt like that was going backwards. Like, oh my God, how am I having these feelings? How is this thought coming up? And how could that be anything that I could use going forward? But it had to come up.
Yes.
It's like it had to come up. And where I have to say where I still get stuck, and maybe that's just me kind of being hard on myself, because I'm getting to see that part too, how hard I am on myself, where I'm moving when I'm not, is the action piece. I was getting stuck, and now what do I do with this?
Yes.
Where do I go with this? Like, okay, I see it, I feel it, but now what? And so that was a little bit of a sticking point. Yeah. And I think it still is, because I want it to be something big. Like, I want the action to be something big. Like, okay, at the end of this inner child thing, I'm going to create a course that will serve everybody. Like, wait,
the whole world.
What's happening here? Just like, can it be okay that you write a story about your inner child and that be enough? Like, I'm learning that sometimes is the action.
Yes. And I try to kind of incorporate that within the work. So there's bringing everything into the 3D is vital. So, I mean, I'm a writer by nature. I studied, creative writing as a master's degree. So for me, writing is where I take it out of my body as well as physically and put it on paper so that it becomes an action. It's a thing. So yeah, I find this is massively missing in the spiritual world, is these action pieces. Where do we put that into action? And people fall into that trap always of going into, okay, I now need to save the world. So yeah, and that's just not possible. So for me, the other day I had another paddy fit over something I'd seen on the internet, and I was like, well, what can I do about that? And I want to, take Bill Gates down, for example, and I can't do that. So what can I do? So I voiced on his Instagram, and I felt immediately better. And we get very frustrated, don't we, because we're hard on ourselves. Mm-hmm. And it's a very masculine energy, that in the feminine, and we both know that we hold very strong masculine pillars. That harder energy makes you think that it has to be something colossal and something life-changing and world-changing, and it doesn't. It just needs to come out in emotion, because what has been repressed, as you so lovely said about, you know, like putting it down, not allowing the emotion to come up and out, is that this is an energy within the body. And the minute we make an emotion and we cry or we get angry and we allow that to come out, we're not projecting it on other people, then it comes out and energy changes form. It doesn't disappear. So what do we do with that that's come out of us? It's going to be ricocheting around your living room looking for a purpose.
Yeah.
So that's when I'm like, okay, I'm going to do that with you. And then that feels like it's had a reason for coming out, because let me tell you this, because I got stuck in this in the work I was doing with the teacher. I got stuck in what's called woundology, where you're going over and crying and crying and crying, and you see these people who are crying and crying and crying, and I'm in collective conscious pain, and I'm so angry, I've been angry for 3 days. Well, that for me is a sure sign that the energy that's trying to leave the body is looking for purpose, it's looking for action. And sitting and crying about it for a day ain't going to do anything for you at all, because what that is saying to you is, I am looking for a purpose. Show me what to do with this emotion. And you've seen in the group, some girl today has shown her anger in the form of visual arts. So it's come straight out, and at the same time, it's formed an energy. The same with your artistry and your symbology.
Yeah. It's that's the piece that's so important. And I think we think that it has to look like something. When you hear action, it's like, oh my God, I have to do a meditation. I have to create something. It's not. It could be as simple as, like, the other day, I just said, you know what, I need to dance.
Yes.
And that was enough of an action to just get it out. It was gone. The emotion came up. I felt like I couldn't breathe and I have to move. I don't want to do yoga.
Do yoga, Zina.
I don't want to do yoga. I'm gonna dance. And it did it.
Yeah. And that's the feminine intuition. So the feminine intuition begins to override the masculine brain that says, oh, you've got to save the world, or you've got to start a new version of Greenpeace, or you have to write a book. The feminine grabs it and goes, ugh, and it, okay, I just froze there. So the feminine energy will intuit that emotion very quickly and do something with it. The minute the mind comes in to try to engage with it, you start to lose the momentum of the action. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and that's another distinction I just want to make quickly, is you really get to see when you're clicking into your thoughts and leading with that versus where it is in your body, where are you feeling it, and then you can decide. Then you have a clear place to decide, okay, oh, that I'm seeing I'm being too masculine, or that I'm seeing I'm going into an old pattern because I went into my head. Let me just shift. Let me just try this new way and go into my body. Let me go into the feeling and see what that does. Mm-hmm. It just offers you space to see the pattern or see an old way and make a choice.
Yes, yeah. And so the Rose Yoga that people know, if they know me, that I've done yoga for, since I was 19. I'm 44 nearly now. So it's been a huge part of my life. And it started off as something that I was interested in because I was a runner. I used to run and I needed flexibility in my body. And then it became a place that I was able to get this connection that I'd never experienced before. And that was my story with yoga. And I just, for years, I never wanted to be a teacher. I used to go classes 3 times a week. I went every workshop, every training I could, just because I loved it. And then I became a teacher and did every teacher training available. And I lived and breathed it. I used to, Casper was saying the other day to Marlon, my mum used to get up at 5 o'clock and do 2 hours of yoga before she woke me up in the morning. And I did. I loved it. I embodied it. And the yoga for me, when I started to work with people physically, hands-on in clairvoyancy as well as, therapeutic terms, I started to feel there was something missing in the yoga, that the yoga did but wasn't allowed time enough to release. So I started to experiment, and then that's how I created my first type of yoga, which is called Chakra Evolution, which is a therapeutic, somatic healing. It's sacred body work, really. Mm-hmm. And so I've done something similar within the group called Rose Yoga, which is soft, gentle, opening, deflowering, really, yoga. And Trinu, one of our girls in the group, she actually teaches it. So you and, you know, your experience of this yoga, what can you tell people who are going, oh, I don't do yoga, you know, how have you experienced it different? Yeah.
That was me. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to be honest, there's times when I'm in a pose at the resistance going, this is why I hate yoga. This is exactly why I hate yoga. But I find that every time I do it, something shows up for me. And for instance, today I did it and it was very gentle. But at the end of it, I got this big added insight about my inner child and where I was and just such clarity. Something happens when you sit in your body and are just present to it.
Yes.
And the poses are not that difficult. They're not difficult. They're not. For me to say that, I'm not a yoga person, and I am able and sometimes willing to do the yoga, but that's my resistance. That's the place where I go into resistance. So when I find out that I sit on the cushion or I go down on the ground and do the yoga, I know that something shifts.
Yeah,
there's no escape it. It happens every time. Every time.
And the reason I put it in the course is not just because I want to put yoga in all my work, is because I feel that body piece is essential. If people are in the resistance and avoiding, and then they go and sit on that mat because it's part of the course, you cannot avoid what wants to be shown, because you're sitting still, because it's like a yin style of yoga. You sat still, you're speaking and you're connected to your physical body. You've done all your practice in the morning, so it's all whatever it's brewing up in the body, and then suddenly, boom, the physical opening of your body will make this stuff come through you. Yeah. And you cannot get out of it. You can't escape it.
Yeah.
I could be as busy as you like in my life. I sat down in a still yoga asana and I had to face my stuff like that.
And that's what it makes you do.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it makes you do. And sometimes I'll change it up. Like I said, it's always like a negotiation with my brain, right? Because my brain is a lot of times what leads me. So I'll say, okay, I read the practice. I really don't want to do that. So I'll sit down and I'll do the yoga. And then still something comes out. And then again, I'll do the practice and I'll go back and I got to go back to yoga again. So I end up doing yoga twice.
You need to learn one. Okay. So you really like the yoga, really?
Yeah. Yeah. I like what it does. Yeah. I like what it does.
Yeah, me too. I don't particularly, like in my busier days, I used to be like, well, I'd really like this time for something else, but I never regret getting to the yoga asana when I'm in it. So there's a new course that's coming on the 13th of May where I'm going to gather another group of women. I'm really feeling this is the time that we really need to get this out to women. And I know, Zina, that you're going to teach this work as well, because you're programmed to do it. And
I'm excited to do it.
Yeah, and then you'll go off and you'll get the women. I think we need to get more and more work at them. And that's my key. The reason I'm doing this is the more women that do the courses, the more women can come out and teach this work, and we can start to spread out and get women healed and in their power and doing their own work. That's how this works. There's a lot of women who are interested in the course already, not all suitable, and the ones who are generally suitable have resistance. They're always like, I'll tell you the key things: fear, money, time, I'm not good enough to do that course, I'm not spiritual enough, or I've not done enough work, or I'm not that kind of person, and many more. What would you say about those things that you've seen come up for people when they enter into these kinds of work? What would you say about those typical resistances? Time, money, fear.
I would say it's an invitation to look deeper, right? So if it's about money, if you're on the spiritual path and you believe in energetics, it's like the flow, right? So like you tap into the flow and you start looking at, oh, well, maybe it's really not showing up as money. Maybe it's showing us something else. Or if it's about like, okay, I'm not spiritual enough, I don't know enough, and that's something else willing to show you just a little bit deeper, I would suggest it's an invitation to go back beyond the words, back beyond the obvious that's right in front of your face, because underneath I don't know enough is, oh, I do know, and it's just about time to remember it now. Underneath the money is like, oh yeah, I know that flow exists. I know I could feel it. Let me tap into that and see what this is really about. And then things, again, it's about moving it. It's about moving it. So if you hear yourself saying these things that are the obvious, it's something else.
Yes, yeah.
And it's an invitation to just move it a little. Just move it a little.
And a lot of women, I feel a lot of women that are right for healing just have this, you know, that they just don't want to invest in themselves. You've got to get to a place, haven't you, to feel that you're worthy of investing that in yourself. You know, we can invest that in a holiday for the family, or we'd do it on a set of clothes or coffees over a month. But when it comes to investing in ourselves, there's a little bit of guilt around that. I know that, and you know that with working with women.
Yeah, and it's also about, you know, kind of reframing how you look at it. And it's an investment, right? So if you're willing to take a college course, or if you're willing to get a degree, you have to pay per credit, and you're paying to get that education. You're paying to understand yourself in a different way. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. It's not even like, okay, well, it's coming from a university and it's that different. No, when the benefit is so profound and so immediate, it's very, it's just another way to reframe it. When you have those kind of changes and when you see that kind of healing, it's worth the investment of whether it's money, time, whatever that exchange looks like. You have to decide, is it worth that investment to have that result in me?
Yeah. And for me, you know, my end of things as well, when I take these containers on, you know, I am heavily invested in them, heavily. And my goal, I put as much pressure as you put on yourselves in there to make this work, because you paid for it, because you showed up. I have the same investment in myself. Like, I really want to make sure that these courses are value for money, that people get moved and shifted and they leave the course a completely different person, completely different. And I will take, you know, if any woman doesn't leave these courses not feeling different, I take that very personally. But I know when people do my work, they shift, because I invest in that. I give everything in the course, everything. So the format of the course, for those that are interested, is that we have a weekly theme, and I share those with you. We have a forum online that's a secret forum that only the women in the group are in, and Zina's own container will look the same. And then we will have a Wednesday call, or whatever day we start on, for Wednesday for us, and we get really, like, I normally do all my interviews and my sessions like this, but with this group, we all get in, the ones who are on the night time, you're in a different time zone, but we get in our pajamas and we get in bed. And we share where we're stuck, we share where we're moving forward, and there might be a meditation. So we have a really intimate circle, don't we, once a week too.
Yeah, and it's a beautiful way to actually see each other and feel each other. I mean, someone could be sharing their stories and half of us are sitting there crying because we're, you know, so connected to each other and we're feeling each other. With the visual, for me, of course, because I'm a visual person, but to be able to see that other woman who's been supporting you during the hardest times sometimes, or just with a word that says, listen, I feel you, I'm with you, I'm sending you a hug. And then to get to see that person is just a beautiful connection.
Yeah, definitely. So that's how the group works. So like I said, the next one with me starts on the 13th of May. If you're interested, just send me an inbox or a message, and I'll put a link underneath this video with the details of the group, the Rose Alchemy group, where I put details in for you to look at. And yeah, we can take it from there. You will be seeing more of Zina on this. We might even do another interview at the end of the course to see where she is then.
Okay.
Transformation. And you will be hearing more about Zina when she runs her course as well. So if that's something you're not committed to doing in the next couple of weeks, then it might be in a month or so when Zina's course runs. I will also add Zina's details to the bottom so that you can all look at Zina's profile, and some of you may be drawn to do some work with Zina, so I will make sure that your details are in there, darling, as well, so that they can hook up with you if they feel that. But we just wanted to say thank you for tuning in with us and listening to Zina's journey and my journey with Zina. And we really look forward to seeing you soon, and hopefully in a couple of weeks we'll re-interview Zina and see where she is then. So bye for now.
So just add one more note. I just want to add one quick thing to say, that if anybody is really thinking about it, on the fence, the support that you get from Colette, the love that's in the group, the container of women that is drawn to this, that are also eager to heal, is profoundly supportive, helpful. And I believe it allows you to go into the deeper healing that you need to. So if you're on the fence, please consider from another level how invested you are in your own healing, and understanding that you will be a different person from this process. Be a different person from this process.
Thank you, Zina. Thank you. So bye for now. I'll speak again soon.
Bye.